Call to order the regular meeting of the Chicago Board of Election Commissioners for Tuesday, November 12th, 2013. Good morning, everyone. My name is Langdon Neal. I'm chairman of the board. Seated to my right is Commissioner Richard Cowan, and to my left is Commissioner Maricel Hernandez. First item on the agenda is a consideration of the agenda itself. Any additions, deletions? Hearing none, we'll move to item 3. Approval of the minutes. The minutes are in your board books for Tuesday, October 22nd, 2013.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hernandez, seconded by Commissioner Cowan. Further discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Executive Director's report, Mr. Goff.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just and you were there, Mr. Chairman, a report on our budget hearing in front of City Council and the County Board that we've had last week. I don't know if you want to add anything.
You can start, I'll clean up.
Well, it was, we've had some negotiations, both city and county, on our budget. Just to let the board members know that our budget for both city and county will pass unanimously. It was a little touchy here and there. We did get the money for the e-poll books. Our budget hearing was on Friday. On Thursday at 11 o'clock, they called up and said, well, I get the money for the e-poll books. So it came right down to the wire. But it went very well.
Well, I just compliment you and Kelly and the staff on putting together a very tight budget to reflect the austere times that we find ourselves in. I think by and large it was well received by both the City Council and the Board of Commissioners, and we were able to squeeze some money for capital technology investment, which was critical. So kudos to everybody. They worked hard in the process, and it was daunting this year for sure.
I would certainly second that, as I'm sure we all do, because in this climate, this atmosphere with budgetary pressures, that's really, I think, a testament to the professionalism of our staff, to Lance, and certainly to your input and ability to work these issues out. It's not an easy job, and very, very well done.
Thank you.
So at this point, we sent out an RFP for the poll books.
Yes, we have.
So,
And we are.
So why don't you give us an update on the procurement for the poll books?
Well,
Kelly?
Kelly will give you that.
Okay.
So yes, we had the return of the RFPs. The responses were due October 10th, I believe. We had an evaluation committee made up of board staff. We reviewed them, we evaluated them. We've met several times, and so we're still in the meeting stages. So
Okay.
But we're getting
we are
very
getting
close.
close.
Have you
Very
to get close.
cut down the field, so to speak? Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What's the timeline going forward, if that's been developed yet?
Well, we're going to have them in
Hit the
place
ground
for this
running.
upcoming
Yes.
election.
For March, we will use them for March.
Well, yeah, but I mean in terms of narrowing the field, or are we going to have a chance to talk to maybe the finalists or something like that, or what do you contemplate? I'm not sure we need to, but I think for this major an acquisition, it probably might be helpful for the board to meet with the finalists.
We could do that. We've narrowed it down to 2, and we're reviewing those 2 proposals. And we were hoping to give you our findings and then bring in those individuals, if that's okay.
But I mean, what, the next meeting, within 30 days, or?
It'll be by the next meeting at the latest.
Okay.
Now, do we contemplate a full implementation in March?
Yes.
Okay. And how much coordination do we have with their technology and our existing infrastructure technology?
We're working on that all the time.
Okay.
So we're constantly in contact. Our IT people have met with both vendors, and I think it'll work out real well.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Mr. Goff, do you have anything else in your report?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. On November 6th, we mailed out 325 letters to militaries and overseas voters who submitted an FPCA postcard. This is our our application for absentee. We've received one back already, and next week we have emails of approximately 5,500 militaries. We're going to be sending that out by email next week. So we're contacting the military. That was one of the items that Alderman Balser was requesting, and I told him we're working full speed ahead on that. I have another item for the board members. We had a last board meeting, we had openings of a bid as 276P. This is the provisional ballot envelope and other affidavits. I received a email from Chicago Press Corporation last week. They said that after reviewing the documents, they are pulling back their bid. I'd like to give it to the next lowest bidder, which was J.J. Collins and Son. The two prices were only separated by $301.
So we actually awarded them the contract, and
Right, we
they've
awarded it
declined to
to Chicago
perform.
Press, and they cannot do that. And
Okay.
they give it to us in writing. I'd like to give it to the next lowest, who was J.J. Collins and Son.
And has J.J. Collins done it in the past?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
And I'm perfectly fine with that. I guess, Mr. Scanlon, we might think about whether we want to allow them to bid again based on making a bid to us, being the low bidder, and then not being able to perform, and therefore indicating that they didn't do their due diligence, or maybe it was unforeseen circumstances, but you may want to.
They have
about that.
done.
Well, I think it's certainly something to consider going forward as far as any potential bids submitted by that company for other jobs.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is the name of the company that's withdrawn?
Chicago Press Corporation.
Chicago Press?
Yes.
Well, I move that we accept the withdrawal of the bid of Chicago Press and award the bid to the second lowest bidder, J.J. Collins, which I understand, based on your comments, Mr. Goff, is within $300 or $400 of the original bid.
Yes.
I second.
Moved and properly seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That'll be the order.
As Mr. Goff said, just the registration department is working hard with the canvas returns and keeping up daily on the voter registrations that are received. The new voter review system is coming along. As you know, at the budget hearing, some of the aldermen who are also committeemen had some questions regarding judges of election and the status that we're at right now. We sent out the yes/no cards for the judges. Those are judges who worked at the November election. We are asking them to return. They are confirmed by the court through the March election. So we're receiving those yes/no cards daily. I think we had about 9,500 that went out. So ideally, we'd like to get the majority of them back. Audra Lewicki began last Monday as the manager for the Community Services and Judges Division. She's working very hard. This week she'll be working on getting the judges' training scheduled together. And everything else is going fine. Warehouse is working very well.
Is there are you going to schedule training for those who want to become registrars?
We do that every day. We do that. We have a regular schedule here in the office. We do deputy registrar trainings 3 times a month here in the office. And then we also go out to a location if they guarantee us 30 people or more. So we do that on an ongoing basis. We have deputy registrar classes, yes. And one more thing, some of the aldermen who are also committeemen asked if we could give a class for the committeemen, a judge of election training class, so of course we will. We will be training our returning judges because it's not a mandated full credit training for March. Obviously we're training them on the new e-poll books, as well as we will conduct full credit training classes for the new judges. But yes, we will train any committeeman or alderman who would like to come to a training. We will offer that to them probably in January.
Okay. And the voter view system seems to be working?
Yes.
Good?
Yes.
Yeah, great, great. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Goff or Ms. Bateman?
Mr. Allen, do you have anything?
I didn't get to Jim yet.
Oh, you didn't, I'm sorry.
Any other questions for Mr. Goff or
Just-
Bateman? Okay, then we'll go to Mr. Yes.
As Kelly and Lance both mentioned, a lot of our work lately is focused on evaluating the responses to the RFPs. It's been a very educational process, and Kelly's put together a really good team of people to come at this from various angles around the office. So I think we're going to have whichever vendor we have, we're very mindful that we need to have a smooth rollout.
Yes.
And that we want someone or some entity with considerable experience with a reasonably sized jurisdiction. And so those are some of the factors that are in play. On the canvas, that went really well. Charles and Company are processing much of the return mail. We expect to have the second file, the second notice, begin to print within the next week and a half. And so that'll go out to the people whose pieces came back undeliverable, whose mail pieces, voters whose mail pieces came back undeliverable. On the registration of 17-year-olds, we're getting a lot of interest from the various organizations who are participating in this. The event on December 3rd, the kickoff, is being sponsored by the McCormick Foundation, and they've selected our chairman to be their keynote speaker to address all of the different representatives from the Chicago schools who are there to try to figure out what is going to happen between January 1 and February 18 as we try to register as many new young voters as possible.
Jim, can you just, in 2 sentences, explain, in case there's people here who are not familiar?
Yes. Under newer law, 17-year-olds who will be 18 by the general election will not only be allowed to register, but also vote in the March 18, 2014 primary, even if they're still 17. The thinking in the legislature was that, a lot of districts throughout the state, the primary often decides or can decide the winner, or often decides who is going to be on the ballot in November. Therefore, they're offering the franchise for the very first time in Illinois for statewide and congressional and U.S. Senate and governor state offices to 17-year-olds. Again, the limitation is that they be 18 on or before November 4 of 2014. So this is kind of an education curve for our teachers and administrators and learning coaches and librarians. We want to make sure they understand. We have to adjust the forms a little bit because right now they just say 18 on or before the next election. So, sorry, that was more than 2 sentences.
No, that's fine.
Lastly, we're looking at the rollout still of the new website, and we're hoping to use more social media to help educate our voters, in addition to our judges, on the electronic poll books, so that this is something that they can see and feel and hear about even before they enter the polling place, and try to make sure that everybody understands why we're making this important step. That's it.
Questions for Mr. Allen? Yes, Chief.
Do you think there's a need with the rollout of the electronic poll books to increase, we used to refer to them as PPAs or others in the polling places for technical assistance?
We're doing the PPA for this primary election.
And
We
the
have
county-
funding for it.
The county agreed with that need.
All right.
And is that at the same level as in terms of the number of PPAs?
It will be one per polling place in polling places that have 1 to 3 precincts. 3 or more will add additional PPAs. It will be one per polling place is the idea.
Another item is, we're just the final item that let the board members know. We were open yesterday for people checking the computers for petitions, and I just got a request this morning via email that they want us open on the weekends and extended hours. So election times here will be working 7 days a week at the Board of Election.
Another thought about so for the electronic poll books, we will have the redundant system though in the first election. We'll have the,
Yes, we will.
paper
No one-
registration records.
The voter won't see a difference.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yes, sir.
Not that not that I don't question we'll have a smooth rollout.
Although the challenge is going to be updating the paper, right?
Yeah,
Within the short period of time.
We're working
Yeah.
on that.
okay. All righty. We'll move on to old business. Infrastructure projects, well, our electronic poll books is number 3 or 4 down our list that we keep ticking off. Technology improvements in our system. Voting equipment, anything that we need to talk about there?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, anything for Dominion? Just want to make sure you're awake back there. Okay, okay?
Awake, yes.
All righty. Legislation. Anything, Mr. Scanlon?
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
All righty. We'll move on to new business. Sad to report the passing of a giant within the election field. Dr. Richard Smolka passed away this week. And do you want me to read this, or? I'll read a resolution for the record. Whereas Dr. Richard G. Dick Smolka, as we all knew him, enjoyed illustrious career as professor in the School of Government and Public Administration for 31 years at American University in Washington, D.C., and author of a variety of books and articles on elections. And whereas Dr. Smolka enriched and inspired 2 generations of American University students with a course that had them develop campaigns that covered every possible rule and strategy for winning an election. And whereas Dr. Smolka in 1971 launched election administration reports, which chronicled objectively all variety of events related to voting equipment, poll worker training, election policy and legislation, recounts, landmark judicial elections. And whereas Dr. Smolka served as an international election observer in 25 countries where voters in fledgling democracies were participating in their first free elections. And whereas Dr. Smolka delivered insightful analysis and projections in election night coverage on WRC-TV and NBC affiliate in Washington, D.C., and whereas Dr. Smolka was one of the most frequently quoted experts in national media coverage of the election questions in the weeks that followed the historic 2000 presidential election, and whereas Dr. Smolka was recognized in 2001 with the prestigious Freedom Award from the National Association of Secretaries of State for a lifetime of contribution to election administration, and whereas Dr. Smolka, a native of Cleveland, Ohio, served in our nation's armed forces from 1953 to 1956 before earning her bachelor's degree, master's degree, and doctorate from American University. Whereas Dr. Smolka passed recently at the age of 81 on November 5th, an historic election day in many American cities and states. Dr. Smolka is survived by Peggy Farrell, his wife of 55 years, and their 6 children, Daniel, Michael, Gregory, Stephen, Mary, David, and 15 grandchildren and 2 sisters. And whereas Dr. Smolka will be memorialized for a lifetime of achievements on December 30th in Mesa, Arizona. Be it resolved that the commissioners and employees of the Board of Election Commissioners for the City of Chicago extend their deep and heartfelt sympathy to the Smolka family, and be it resolved that this resolution be spread upon the official record of the Board of Election Commissioners for the City of Chicago, and that a copy be presented to the family of Dr. Richard G. Smolka. Adopted this day, November 12th of November 2013.
I move the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
Moved in by Commissioner Cowan, seconded by Commissioner Hernandez. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. printing of Form 14.
It's in the book. Chairman, in your thing, I recommend that Palmer Printing in the amount of $109,000 is the lowest bidder and received the contract to print Form 14.
You have in your board books a list of the bids received. The recommendation of staff is that the contract be awarded to Palmer Printing in the amount of $109,000, the lowest bidder.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Hernandez.
Second, but I have a question for discussion. What is Form 14?
The application for ballot that every voter signs, pre-printed application for ballot.
Why do we only have 2 bidders? This is speculation, and there's a difference of $56,000 in the bid. I mean, that's a pretty standard form, isn't it?
No, it's, well,
Not an
standard
easy form
form.
to print.
It's not an easy
Yeah.
form to print, considering you're putting every registered voter on that form and their signature, an image of their signature on that form.
And you have to do 2,000 sets, one for each precinct. So they're like booklets.
Well, it's the binding that's the most important thing, because you're dividing it by precinct.
And it has a perf in the middle.
It has,
And it's
yeah.
a different,
I think what happens is the printer, in this case Palmer, gets the presses set up and procedures set up for this, and it's hard to break in unless you really are incented to do so. I don't know that we,
Because even the ones that routinely bid on the other work didn't seem to submit a bid either.
It's a special type of press that they use for this, and it's specialized work, and probably this will be the last time we won't see this form
Yeah.
after 2015, so.
Okay.
Moved and properly seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
That'll be the order. Legal status report, Mr. Scanlon.
Just to report that the board filed its brief in the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals on Friday in the Stone versus Board of Election Commissioners case. This is with regard to the signature requirement for mayor, city clerk, and city treasurer of $12,500. The plaintiffs now have 15 days to file a reply, and we could be looking at an oral argument right around Christmas time. So
Okay.
we'll keep the commissioners apprised.
Thank you. All righty. Financial report, we do not have one today. All right. Okay, we'll move to the public comment section. Anybody want to speak to us today? Come on, Terry, you got something for us today? Okay. All right. Let it not be said that we don't encourage public comment. All righty. I don't think there's a need for there is a need for executive session to discuss what?
Personnel.
Personnel matters. All right. We will recess into executive session. I will accept a motion to recess into executive session to discuss personnel matters. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Moved and properly seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Stand in recess.
Go ahead.
All right, we're back in open session. The board took no action in closed session, executive session, which requires a vote in open session. So at this time, I'll accept a motion to adjourn till our next regularly scheduled meeting, which would be November 26th at 9 o'clock.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.